Welcome back to another Spongebob Conspiracy compilation video. We're on the fourth set of theories, being the evolution theory and the human war. Yeah, human war mini theory. This is the fourth one. We're like on the halfway point when we reach the end of this, kind of, because the other four theories are a bit longer, especially the next the fifth theory, the seventh theory, and from the lips of it, the eighth theory. So with this all said, let's get right on into this one. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button below, hit the subscribe button, support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when the video comes out. If there's any videos you'd like to recommend that I should react to, put it down in the comment section below, and I'll react to it as soon as possible. And be sure to give Alex Bale some love and support for the videos that he has made throughout his time being the SpongeBob guy and all this and all that. As a reminder for those that either forgot how I'm gonna do this thing, or if you're new and you don't know how this is gonna work, I'm not really gonna make that many comments, like pause for every little thing throughout this conspiracy. I'm gonna do it though when it comes to new bits of information that comes up, or mainly when it comes to the mini theory. So kind of gonna get something yeah. I think the idea is obvious on what's gonna happen. So basically anything new, I'm gonna make comments on it and give my own opinion. I might talk a bit about my original thought process when it comes to the conspiracy from before, when I watched it the first time, and so on and so forth. Because when I first did it, it was a blind reaction. Nowadays, I just go back and look at the old conspiracies when I got a little bit more free time than I should. Usually that's when I'm listening it onto the while I'm driving and not really looking at it, but more like listening, if that makes sense. Or if I'm like waiting for like something, because there's like stuff I have to do that I have to either wait in line for something, be called up for something, and so on and so forth. That's really it. So yeah. With this all said, you now know what's going on, you now know the deal. So let's get on with this. This is the evolution theory and the human war mini theory.
Are the Bikini Bottom citizens the result of nuclear radiation? Who is Pearl's mother? What is the Krabby Patty's secret formula? These are by far the three biggest questions in the show SpongeBob SquarePants, and today I'm going to be answering all three of them and more with just one theory. Get ready for the darkest SpongeBob conspiracy you'll ever see. This is the evolution theory. By far, the most popular SpongeBob theory out there is the Bikini Atoll nuclear radiation theory. It's pretty simple. It's been confirmed that Bikini Bottom is actually beneath a real-life place called Bikini Atoll. From 1946 to 1958, the United States did nuclear tests there, devastating the area and leaving it radioactive even to this day. The theory states that the reason why the citizens of Bikini Bottom can talk and have formed advanced societies is because of mutations caused by these nuclear tests. And that's about the whole theory. Even though there's tons and tons of videos about it, none of them actually go in depth with it or really look through the show for evidence, but y'all know that if Alex Bale is making a theory on it, then it's not going to be some baby surface level analysis. And once I really started looking into this theory, I realized that there is so much more here than anyone thinks. Get ready, because today we're going to be solving the biggest mysteries in the history of SpongeBob SquarePants and changing the way you look at the entire show. So without further ado, let's begin the theory. In order to find out whether the Bikini Atoll theory is true, we first have to determine whether fish talking and being so intelligent is unique to Bikini Bottom, or if that's just the way the SpongeBob universe works. You know, it could just be that all animals in this world are able to talk, and that's completely normal because at the end of the day, SpongeBob is still just a cartoon. Well, if we take a look at Season 10, Episode 10, Feral Friends, we get a bit of a hint about how the SpongeBob world works. In this episode, a green moon appears and transforms all the characters into less cartoony, real-life versions of themselves.
SpongeBob, Patrick!
Just like in real life, they can't talk and end up trying to eat each other. The French narrator is watching all this unfold, and he says this very important line.
I have been monitoring the behavior of the green moon all day. It is called Neptune's moon, Every 100 years, it de-evolves everyone in Bikini Bottom into primal fish.
Every 100 years, it de-evolves everyone in Bikini Bottom into primal fish. So this implies that the characters in Bikini Bottom are more evolved and were once like these primal fish. But this doesn't prove that the evolution only exists in Bikini Bottom. It could still be a worldwide phenomenon. Remember that bonus DVD clip I found in my television theory? It was about humans studying fish in Bikini Bottom because of their intelligence.
Land-loving scientists have tried to learn the secrets of intelligence. Their studies led them to the sea, where the citizens of one undersea colony demonstrated a genius so enormous, the scientists felt compelled to record their actions for use in teaching mankind how to live better.
This makes it sound an awful lot like the fish in Bikini Bottom actually are uniquely evolved and it's not some worldwide phase. Then, in the SpongeBob 20-year anniversary special, SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout, we get a major piece of evidence for this theory. SpongeBob and Patrick take a tour of the surface world and eventually go to a fish store and see some very realistic, less evolved fish.
What kind of monsters would want to keep fish folk in jail like this? They're so beautiful.
They can't talk back to SpongeBob and Patrick, and they're actually able to swim freely through the water instead of being affected by gravity. They are clearly showing us that both evolved and primitive fish exist in this universe at the same time. Now, sometimes we've seen Bikini Bottom characters represented as realistic fish like this, but only when they're out of water, never while they're still in water like these fish. We even see this again in the beginning of the third SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run. The movie opens with a coral reef full of these realistic primal fish, but eventually we get to Bikini Bottom where the more evolved fish live. So there you go, direct proof that the citizens of Bikini Bottom are uniquely evolved. This is a very deliberate world building choice for the creators to make. So I guess that kind of confirms the Bikini Atoll theory. Theory confirmed! We did it! Woo! Well, let's hold on for a second. As much as I'd love to call this theory complete, there's actually one major piece of evidence that gives me some resistance. Something I've never seen anyone else bring up when talking about this theory. Prehistoric Bikini Bottom.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
seen episodes like UGG or SB129 that show Bikini Bottom millions of years in the past, but we still see evolved versions of SpongeBob and Patrick. Sure, they may not be super intelligent or advanced, but they're still clearly way more evolved than the primitive, realistic versions we see in Feral Friends or in the fish store. So, how are we seeing these evolutions millions of years before the Bikini Atoll tests? Well, unfortunately, I think the only conclusion is that the Bikini Atoll theory just isn't true. I mean, clearly something has caused Bikini Bottom citizens to be uniquely evolved, there's no denying that. But whatever caused it took place millions of years ago and couldn't have been the Bikini Atoll nuclear tests. Then, what really caused the evolution? In the entire show, the only thing we've seen that directly affects the evolution of characters is the Green Moon and Feral Friends. Except the French narrator specifically calls it Neptune's moon,
It is called Neptune's moon.
named after the ruler of the seven seas, King Neptune. King Neptune is a character who's been around since the beginning of the sea. He's a character who the Bikini Bottom citizens view as their god, and he's a character who has the ability to change fish into other forms.
What the? Oops.
King Neptune used his magic to turn the fish of the sea into more evolved subjects for him to rule over. He's the one who's been behind it all this time. Hey, Alex from the future here. So
okay.
before I move on, let's talk a little more about the Bikini Atoll theory. A lot of people really wanted this theory to be true, and I get it. This is like the most iconic, classic SpongeBob theory. And the comment I got the most on this theory was the idea that the prehistoric Bikini Bottom that disproves the Bikini Atoll theory doesn't actually take place millions of years ago. It's actually the fallout directly after the Bikini Atoll tests when life first started to mutate and evolve in Bikini Bottom. And that's a cool idea, you know.
I mean, if you say it like that, I can see where you're going with that. But the issue is, well, I think it was mentioned before on how far back it was when it came to the prehistoric Bikini Bottom. So I can see why people would say that, but I think I've heard enough comments throughout the show saying that this is like a completely different time period that goes even far beyond the Bikini Atoll. test
It's
stuff.
a cool way to maybe keep the Bikini Atoll theory, but here's the thing. The narrator actually says it takes place millions of years ago.
It is here that millions of years ago, life began taking its
Yep.
first clumsy steps out of the darkness.
And we see a dinosaur flying above the sea. I'm sorry, this just has to be from the actual prehistoric age millions of years ago. Alright, but here's another comment I got. If this show's all supposed to be a television theory documentary, how were they able to get this footage from millions of years ago? Well, in SB-129, Squidward time travels back to the prehistoric age, and obviously the cameraman came with him, otherwise we wouldn't be able to watch the episode. So, unfortunately, no matter how you look at it, there's no way this episode with evolved fish wasn't actually millions of years before the Bikini Atoll tests. I'm sorry guys, the Bikini Atoll theory just can't be true. Or, at least that's what I thought, until I recently rewatched
Okay.
the season 10 episode Lost and Found. This episode takes place entirely beneath the Krusty Krab. And if you remember, beneath the Krusty Krab is where the filmmakers store secret behind-the-scenes stuff, like the surveillance room filming the characters, or even props used in the SpongeBob movie. But while SpongeBob is trying to get back upstairs, he passes through this area.
Lost World.
Huh?
A massive underwater prehistoric area that even has dinosaurs despite it being underwater. The only explanation I can think of for this is, like everything else we see down here, this is a fake set created by the showrunners for an episode of SpongeBob. Meaning, the prehistoric Bikini Bottom episodes we see are most likely faked by the showrunners, and the Bikini Atoll theory could still be true. Also, to further prove this, in a new Season 14 episode, Hysterical History, we get another flashback to prehistoric Bikini Bottom, but it's sort of implied to be at the same time as humans existing. So yeah, really seems like the Bikini Atoll theory is plausible now. I still
Huh. Does seem that way, but at least still a big question. There is a time machine. How would that? Oh wait, if it did, technically it would still count because that would mean that Ugg was from like a prop set, not. Okay, that means Squidward actually went back into when. Okay, yeah, that's the hard part now. Now that I'm seeing it, Ugg. The second you figure out what Ugg is all about, for sure, then it will tell you if the Bikini Atoll theory is true or not.
think both theories for why the fish are evolved work pretty well. Neptune's moon actually shows us some direct evidence of fish becoming more or less evolved, but the actual Bikini Atoll test footage being used throughout the show doesn't really feel like a coincidence to me either. Either of them fit the theory, I like them both.
Wait, what happens if it's like this? Okay, stay with me. What happens if is the Bikini Atoll theory, but Neptune is the god of the sea, managed to use his powers, cause like a lot of the radiation to become a single ball, which would be called Neptune's moon, and that moon is the very radiation that brought life, which came from the Bikini Atoll theory, from the nuclear test site. What if that is the case? I'd like to say that's true, but I feel like there's going to be something or someone that's going to say that there's like this one big piece that I'm not here getting, or it does sound hopeful and does sound true, but there's this one thing that counters it.
You could just choose your favorite. Let's get back to the theory. But now, I have an interesting question for you. What is the relationship between evolved fish and primitive unevolved fish? Well, they probably just peacefully coexist in the sea without bothering each other. You know, just like real-life humans and animals. Wait a second.
Ah.
The war! I also have some new thoughts on the war theory, but I'm gonna save them for the next mini theory. I promise not all these
Yeah.
mini theories are like Mrs. Puff Part 2s, but a lot of them kind of build off of the previous theory.
Makes
In
sense.
Season 3, Episode 10, the Krusty Krab training video, there is this hilarious, absurd moment when they're talking about Mr. Krabs.
After the war, Krabs stayed secluded in a deep depression that seemed endless.
Like, what war happened in Bikini Bottom? They just tell us this and then completely drop it. But with this new context, is it possible that crabs fought in a war against these primitive, wild fish of the sea? I mean, let's remember in Feral Friends, some of those de-evolved fish were massive compared to the evolved fish, and they immediately started attacking each other.
The battle for the survival of the fittest rages on in the animal kingdom.
So yeah, in order for the Bikini Bottom citizens to survive and expand, they would probably break into some kind of war. And from the sounds of it, this war must have been pretty brutal to put Mr. Krabs into such a deep depression. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Is there actually any evidence that proves the war Mr. Krabs fought in was specifically this evolutionary war? Well, through the few flashbacks we get, we know that Mr. Krabs served in the Navy. And yes, they were sailing ships on an ocean even though they're already underwater. This is actually a real-life phenomenon where certain parts of the sea can have a higher level of salinity, and it looks like an underwater ocean. Shout out Miss Parks, my high school marine biology teacher. We also know from maps of Bikini Bottom that the town is surrounded by this underwater ocean. So that places Mr. Krabs' war outside of Bikini Bottom where this evolutionary war would have to take place. Then if we take a look at Mr. Krabs' home, we see it is full of memorabilia from his past days in the Navy. But hidden within here is something that will absolutely blow your mind and answer one of the biggest questions in the show. Hanging there on his wall is a picture of a massive whale next to a ship. You don't think that could be... No, it can't be. Pearl's mother?
Wait, I want to see it. I want to find it. Hold up. The things that got my eye right now are the fish and this actual person on the wall. There's a whale. Is it the whale?
Hanging there on his wall.
The whale?
Is a picture of a massive whale next to
The
a ship.
whale!
You don't think that could be...
Pearl's mom! I got it!
Pearl is Mr. Krabs' whale
Okay.
daughter. The show never really explains how a crab can be the father of a whale, but most people just assume she was adopted. People have been speculating about who Pearl's biological mother is for years, and I think we finally just found our answer. We see 2 photos of this whale on a ship in Season 3, Episode 9, just 1 episode before we find out Mr. Krabs fought in a war. Since this is among all of Mr. Krabs' Navy stuff, I think we can assume that this is something he encountered and not just some random picture of a whale on a ship above the ocean. The whale is massive compared to the ship. We've seen adult whales in Bikini Bottom before, but they are nothing compared to the size of this whale. This has a much closer resemblance to Pearl when she de-evolved in Feral Friends and became massive. So this has to be an unevolved primitive whale, and the picture clearly shows them fighting. Not only does this prove that there was a war between evolved and primitive fish, but Mr. Krabs definitely fought in it. But this also implies something very dark. Mr. Krabs killed Pearl's mother. The only direct reference we get in the show to Pearl's mother is one of Mr. Krabs' many sayings, Mother of Pearl.
Mother of Pearl! Mother of Pearl! Holy Mother of Pearl!
He uses it in place of something like holy crap or dear God, only saying it when something truly shocking or terrible happens, because he knows the terrible thing that happened to Pearl's mother. Why did Mr. Krabs go into such a deep depression after the war? Because he's haunted by what he's done, and the smoking harpoon to prove it is right there on his wall.
And he has the harpoon on his wall! Dude!
So, that leaves us with an important question. Why did he adopt Pearl? After he killed her mother, he probably realized she had an infant daughter who had the evolutionary genes. Instead of leaving her to die, he adopted her as his own, all while keeping the dark secret that he was responsible for her mother's death. Okay, whoa. So I obviously just very quickly skimmed over the fact that for some reason Pearl is evolved but Pearl's mother isn't, and I didn't really provide a good explanation for this.
But what if the mom whale was a normal whale and had a whale baby, then why would it have been Pearl? Like, she's the evolved form, right? No, that's convenient. She just happened to be evolved. Okay.
Honestly, at the time, I didn't really have one. But I think I may have a possible explanation now. Whatever caused this evolution, whether it was magic from King Neptune or radiation from nuclear tests, whatever it is, we know it happened only within a specific range. So you could hypothetically have a mother and daughter whale, and only one of them was within range of whatever caused this evolution. It would be nice if there was...
Yeah, that part. Yeah, you see, that part kind of ruins my thought process on what I mentioned before when it came to the whole Bikini Atoll theory. Yeah, that kind of completely destroys that kind of theory process and so on and so forth, to the point that, there is nothing to really say, to be honest. if that's true, then that means Pearl, or the mother does have the gene, but didn't become a normal, not a primitive aquatic being, but more like had the genes to give one's biological child. At least that's what I think. But
There's more
yeah,
evidence in the actual show to explain this, but I think this works as a simple way to explain the logistics of it. Woo! Childhood ruined yet? Well, don't worry, there's still time for this theory to get even worse. Now's your chance to remove yourself before things get really dark. Still here? Okay, so here's a fun question. What's the deal with all the pets in Bikini Bottom? How come most fish are basically humans, but a snail or a worm acts like a pet? Well, just like humans have domesticated wild animals, it should be no surprise that evolved fish have domesticated primitive fish as pets. Unlike the massive primitive fish that the Bikini Bottom citizens had to go to war with, there's also smaller primitive fish like jellyfish, snails, spirit worms, seahorses, and clams that the Bikini Bottom citizens were able to form a symbiotic relationship with. Aww, and I thought you said this was gonna be the dark part, Alex. They're living peacefully together. That's nice. Okay, you got me. Here's another fun question. Where do the citizens of Bikini Bottom get their food? I mean, sure, some of it is plant-based, but there sure does seem to be an awful lot of meat-based food under the sea. I think you know where I'm going with this. The Bikini Bottom citizens eat primitive fish. Haha, it's not cannibalism if they're less evolved than you, right? There's no moral dilemma there.
I mean, what the else are they gonna eat? Sand?
In Season 3, Episode 13, we see direct proof of this when the characters go fishing for primitive clams. This is something completely normal in this world. And then there's the chum bucket, which sells chum. Chum. Chum is literally just ground up fish. The show isn't even hiding this. Now, we don't really see too much of the meat harvesting side of Bikini Bottom, and I'm not surprised they're keeping it on the DL, you know, with the whole cannibalism thing, but there is one secret to making food that is kept more secret than anything in Bikini Bottom. The best kept secret in the entire show. You already know what I'm gonna say. The Krabby Patty secret formula. Throughout the show, there's been lots of contradictory evidence about the Krabby Patty secret formula. In Season 4, Episode 7, Mr. Krabs says it's an old family recipe.
Your mother knows the Krabby Patty formula? Of course she does. It's an old Krabs family recipe.
But in Season 5, Episode 1, apparently Mr. Krabs discovered it on his own by accidentally mixing random ingredients together.
I've done it. I discovered the perfect patty batter.
Sometimes it's a secret formula, sometimes it's a book, sometimes it's a secret sauce, and any glimpse we get of the formula is just random nonsense. There is a ton of contradictory evidence out there, but I think this might all be intentional. In order to throw people off, Mr. Krabs has spread misinformation about the Krabby Patty formula. In fact, he's already done this in Season 3, Episode 18, by hiding a fake formula for Plankton to find that says he's the secret ingredient.
Mixed together with the most important ingredient of all. 4 heaping pounds of freshly ground plankton?
And the contradictions aren't just inside the show. Even one of the Spongebob crew members once said that Krabby Patties are vegetarian and contain no meat. But I've always been a little suspicious about what the creators say. They've also said that they're not allowed to show fish as food, except they clearly do with chum, clam fishing, and all the many gags where fish turn into food. It's almost like they're not allowed by Nickelodeon to publicly acknowledge this because that could create a controversy, but they could still sneak this dark secret into the show. So, what is the true secret ingredient? Where does the meat really come from? It's strange, we never really see Mr. Krabs get the meat delivered, or at least go out himself to get it. It's almost like he has all the meat he needs stockpiled somewhere. What primitive meat can Mr. Krabs have access to? Maybe he's been holding on to something from the war. What could Mr. Krabs have killed during the war that he doesn't want anyone to find out about? Something big enough to supply him with meat for years without needing more. What could that be?
Oh, no. You're not about to tell me.
Wait. What could that be?
No!
Yeah, that was mind numbing. I think at the time I was like confused on what to think and what to say. Now that I have this time to actually think about it and actually say it, well, if it was by convenience, it would make sense. It would make sense because, well, I think it's kind of obvious. technically, Bikini Bomb citizens are like super small, so honestly thinking getting to the main point. When thinking about this, like this one thing, it's not that hard to believe that Mr. Krabs would do it, but also, how do I say it? How do I say it? I guess I don't know. It was just shocking to really think about it like that way. At the same time, it's not really that hard to believe because we have seen Mr. Krabs do some really, really effed up stuff, like really, really effed up that it just makes you pause when you hear it. So it's not that hard to believe, in my personal opinion.
Don't say it.
You really gonna make me say it? Mr. Krabs is using Pearl's dead mother's carcass to make Krabby Patties. Woo! We did it! Yeah, we solved the mystery! We did it!
How could you be celebrating this?
Season 1, Episode 15, Sleepy Time. Mr. Krabs has a dream that he's on a boat fishing for a massive dollar. This is his memory of killing Pearl's mother, except now all he sees her as is money. And take a guess what name he calls the dollar.
What's he doing, Mr. Krabs?
I'm picking Neptune's bucket.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about cold hard flipping cash. It's the mighty Moby Dollar.
Moby Dollar. A direct reference to Moby Dick, a story about hunting a whale. Are you kidding me? And that is the evolution theory. Eugene Krabs' aspirations for money and greed have caused him to do terrible, terrible things. At least his love for Pearl seems to be real, so maybe there's some small amount of good in him. And even though Pearl's mother probably provides tons of meat, eventually he's gonna run out and he'll have to face what he's done. Well, unless of course there's another whale he has access to. Nope. Nope, no. No. Mr. Krabs wouldn't do that. He loves Pearl. He's not just raising her for Krabby Patty meats. Even Mr. Krabs isn't that much of a monster.
From every side I've ever seen to the sweetest sound I've heard, I'd gladly give up everything for all the money that I've earned.
Huh.
Baby, you got something in your nose.
Yeah. I can't disagree with those reactions. I'm pretty sure I was freaking the heck out when I heard that end thoughts. Dear gosh, that was a terrible thing to really think about.
Well, alrighty then, that's the end of that theory. Just gonna end it here before there's any more dark plot twists. Okay, so a lot of people had issues with the Pearl's mother Krabby Patty theory. Specifically, the realism and logic behind how just one whale could create enough Krabby Patty meat for so many years. But listen, I don't make these theories using real-world logic. I try and use the show's own internal logic. But if you want to bring real-world logic into this and argue about how long whale meat would last, I think the real world actually supports my theory. When a whale dies in the real-world ocean, it has a very profound effect on the environment. Entire marine ecosystems will form around a decomposing whale corpse, and scavengers can feed off of it for up to 50 years. This is a phenomenon called whale fall. And this explains why total chaos breaks out whenever Bikini Bottom runs out of Krabby Patties.
The Krabby Patty is what ties us all together. Without it, there will be a complete breakdown of social order.
Aren't you overreacting a bit?
Welcome to the apocalypse, Mr. Squidward.
Just like a real whale fall, the ecosystem of Bikini Bottom is completely dependent on it. Also, another YouTuber, Athena P, pointed out to me that there's this moment in a newer episode of the Patrick Star Show.
This episode addresses Alex Bale's Krabby Patties are made from Pearl's mother theory pretty directly.
I'm Eugene Krabs. Krabby Patties are made with whale oil. You leave my daughter out of this.
So that's something. I mean, take that as
Damn.
you will. So yeah, I
Okay.
still think the Pearl's mother Krabby Patty theory is solid. It's at least
Okay, that's hitting it on the nail and actually giving some confirmed stuff to yeah, okay. That's interesting.
It's better than that crab meat theory
Very
that people
interesting.
won't stop commenting about. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna quickly debunk that theory, because I know people are still gonna comment about it on this video. Here's an extra bonus mini theory, just because this theory annoys me so much.
So that's what I taste like.
So, a lot of people
Oh.
think that Krabby Patties are
Oh. Okay. Oh, I get it. The whole Krabby Patties are made of crab theory. No, it's not made of crab. For one, that would literally make the species extinct to the point that even Mr. Krabs would have to eventually cut off an arm and all that, unless he used his power of imagination to make crabs and kill them off one by one. And if I'm sounding sarcastic when I say the imagination thing, I'm a little tired. Okay, I'm doing this like reaction late at night, and I'm trying to be as quiet as I can. And if you hear my voice like being a little too low, you know why. I have when recording this, it's like at a time where it's very sensitive for family members. If you understand what I mean by that, you understand, okay? And cut me some slack when it comes to that bit. It would be appreciated. Now, which is kind of hilarious considering that a whole year ago, the same thing happened. Anyway, main thing to really think about. Yeah, no. The Krabby Patties are made crabs because we have seen tons of crab characters throughout the series here and there. Would I say like every episode? No, but we have seen large amount of crabs, and they I think mentions of their families and all that. No, and I know and I know the episode was talking about Mr. Krabs saying, "Oh, so that's what I taste like." No, that was no, that was a comment about being how the Krabby Patty was compared to being him, about him being old, uh, crested, or whatever it was. I know what he was talking about. He was talking about his old age and how one would feel at an old age, and how people sometimes make insults about how an old person looks and all that. And it was compared to a Krabby Patty. That's what it means. What Mr. Krabs means. I remember that episode well. I've seen it a lot more times than I would like to admit, and I know what he meant by it. So no, it's not crab meat, and I'm hoping that it's going to be explained here too, because if it's not, then I have probably missed something else.
actually made of crab meat, and Mr. Krabs is going around killing all the crabs in Bikini Bottom. This is the comment I will get for the rest of my life.
It's crab meat.
Actual crab? I mean, why else would Mr. Krabs be the only crab in Bikini Bottom? Except for his mom, and his dad, and his nephews. Okay, but there's no
Exactly.
crabs outside of his family, except for this guy, and this doctor, and this kid, and these two crabs, and this circus guy. But,
Oh wow,
but
there was a lot
besides
more
them,
crabs than I
there's no
knew.
crabs in Bikini Bottom. Okay, even if there is not, like, a lot of crabs, there's equally not a lot of sponges, or starfish, or pufferfish, or squirrels in Bikini Bottom. Bikini Bottom is like 90% generic fish. But then why is it named the Krusty Krab? Cause the owner's a crab, and that's his last name. But even if we ignore that, it's like, why would Mr. Krabs advertise his dark secret as the name of his restaurant? But then why is the Krusty Krab shaped like a crab trap? Okay,
Wait,
this
really?
is actually the one good piece of evidence in this theory. I think it's a little ambiguous whether it's supposed to be a crab trap or a lobster trap, so I did some digging, and Patchy actually calls it a lobster trap in a SpongeBob DVD bonus.
The
Oh.
Krusty Krab looks like a New England-style lobster trap, but no, it just traps the pocket change of Bikini Bottom's hungry denizens.
They also find a very similar looking building in Camp Coral and call it a lobster trap.
Oh no! We've walked into a real life lobster trap!
I can
Oh, well, you know, that's actually some pretty good evidence to disprove that's a crab trap. Yeah, there you go, lobster trap. Huh? I didn't know there was a separate trap for crabs and lobster. I thought they were the same thing, but I guess I'm wrong on that bit.
maybe see
Yeah.
this evidence kind of working, but you'd kind of expect if this was their secret intention, they would like call it a crab trap, you know? But what about the scene where Mr. Crab eats one and he says that it tastes like him?
So that's what I taste like.
This is supposed to be the smoking gun piece of evidence that's all over TikTok, but nobody actually shows the clip with context.
Mommy, my Krabby Patty tastes funny.
Well, no wonder. It's all old and dried out, like that man right there. Now put that thing where it belongs, in the garbage.
La 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 la.
Well, little Patty, we're two of a kind. We've both lost our luster. So that's what I taste like.
Mr. Krabs says the patty tastes like him because the lady called the patty old and dry like him. And he's been feeling insecure about his age in this episode. Like, I'm not saying the Pearl's mom theory is the best theory ever, but it's better than this shit. Come on!
That's for true.
Alright,
And there you go. There was the context. I get why people keep thinking it's crab meat. And if you just look at this one scene, I get it. I'm not going to blame anyone that they think that it's true. But the actual truth is, it's not. It's literally just... It was just literally a bad-handed comment that someone from the restaurant just made and used to mock Mr. Krab. Oh, ow. That hurt. That actually hurt. But yeah, that comment was made to hurt Mr. Krabs. That's really it. So, yeah. There you go. Yay. Solved.
the evolution theory. I know I like to call each of my theories the darkest theory I've ever made, but like, this is the actual darkest one. We all know it. This is some sick, twisted shit. I think this theory has its flaws and relies on a couple big assumptions, but at the end of the day, it's still just so entertaining and interesting to me that I'd probably still put it right in the middle at 4th place, even after all the corrections and alternative ideas. This next mini theory is also kind of an extension to the evolution theory, but it's also a really interesting brand new theory about the history of Bikini Bottom and the true purpose of this show. Let's get into it.
Ah, yes. We finally understand what the human war theory is. Go ahead.
So, if there's one thing I'd probably change about my evolution theory, it would be the second part about the war.
After the war, Krabs stayed secluded in a deep depression that seemed endless.
I think there definitely was a war in Bikini Bottom, but I don't think it was between evolved and primitive fish anymore. There is just way more evidence that the war Mr. Krabs fought in was actually a war between fish and humans. And I think this concept for a human war has been secretly present in the show from the very start. Every single building in Bikini Bottom is made out of some sort of debris from the human world. Now, this is a reference to how marine ecosystems in real life often form around things that fell from the surface. But the debris isn't always just random objects or pollution. A surprising amount of the buildings feel like they're from the aftermath of a massive war. There are a ton of buildings made out of sunken ships, but there's also anchors, submarines, lobster traps, bait and tackle boxes, undersea mines. There's even a building made out of a dead bucket of fish. If you really look at the show's aesthetic, it gives the impression that Bikini Bottom is an Adventure Time style post-apocalyptic wasteland where a massive war between humans and fish took place. Mr. Krabs' Navy
You know, putting it that way, I can see why it would be said like that. That's, very interesting, in all honesty. Very interesting.
Convention Center is literally a giant torpedo. We get further confirmation of this as early as Season 1 Hooky, when a bunch of humans start fishing in Bikini Bottom. Pay close attention to how Mr. Krabs reacts.
They're back! They're back, I tell you! I saw them with my own eyes!
They're back. Mr. Krabs has dealt with this before, probably because these were the same hooks from the war he fought in. From humans' perspective, they're just fishing, but for the citizens of Bikini Bottom, this was a brutal war. And listen to what he says about what happens if the hooks catch you.
They cook you, and then they eat you, or worse.
What could be worse than that?
Gift shops.
You'll end up in gift shops. This gives a whole new context to the Shell City gift shop we see in the SpongeBob movie.
Wait a second. Those...
You know, that would make sense. And it would give more detail and reason why there's a lot more human stuff and a lot more human weaponry like torpedoes and such. And it wouldn't make sense considering that, you know, if people are going to be fishing and like using them for like food and gift shops and whatnot, it would make sense that those down at Bikini Bottom would like start war with humans. Yeah, that makes sense.
Fish are dead.
All these dead fish are victims from the human war. Look, the gift shop in Hookie even has a very similar sign to the Shell City gift shop. Among the dead fish in Shell City, we specifically see the same type of royal seahorses King Neptune uses. Which makes sense because as King of the Sea, he would probably be the one commanding the army to go fight the humans. Movie Neptune even talks about Shell City like he has personal experience with it.
My crown is in the forbidden Shell City! No one who's gone to Shell City has ever returned!
I guess this could also mean Mr. Puff was a victim of the war, but I kinda prefer the idea from my new Mrs. Puff mini theory. We also see giant hooks all over Mr. Crab's wall of memorabilia, along with other human fishing tools. There's even a picture of the Bikini Bottom Museum ship before it was sunk in the war and later turned into a museum. There's also this picture of a human pirate. And before you say anything, no, this is not Patchy. It's probably just someone he fought in the war. Listen, I still definitely think these pictures could be Pearl's mother, and she's still the source of the Krabby Patty meat, but instead of Mr. Krabs killing her, she was probably just a casualty of the human war, and Mr. Krabs just found her dead body and adopted her orphan daughter. There's also the Hook Museum, which with this context looks much more just like a straight up war museum. Now, these are smaller hooks, so I initially thought maybe this was just a museum of hooks made by evolved fish to catch primitive fish like clams, but listen closely to the audio Mr. Krabs is listening to.
The three-pronged jig hook was first sighted in local waters more than 100 years ago.
The hook was first sighted in local waters more than 100 years ago. This is definitely a museum of human hooks, and we now know this war has been going on for at least 100 years. There's also tons of movies and TV shows in Bikini Bottom based around the horrors of hooks.
Tonight's frightening feature.
Not wrong.
The idea of this human war is everywhere in the show, and it's played.
Yeah, I can see the point. Oh, maybe that's why the war started. Because some people had to watch some family, friends, and loved ones get caught by a hook, and oh, that would make sense. That actually would make sense.
Played a big role in shaping the culture of Bikini Bottom. But here's the strange thing about all of this. The Bikini Bottom we see today is not at war. The only time we see humans fishing in Bikini Bottom is in this one single episode, and Mr. Krabs even says they're back.
They're back!
As if this is not a normal occurrence. This implies that the humans previously stopped attacking for some reason. So, what ended this great human war that lasted for at least 100 years? Well, clearly humans and fish have a much more peaceful relationship now. The entire SpongeBob SquarePants show is made by humans with the help of certain fish, including Mr. Krabs, who used to fight against them. What if the reason why the war ended was because of this show? The original human research team that was mentioned in the SpongeBob Pitch Bible showed the world that Bikini Bottom had extremely intelligent life and proved that instead of killing the fish, they could peacefully profit off of them by making their lives into a TV show. SpongeBob doesn't even know it, but I think he might be the reason why a 100-year-long brutal war between humans and fish has come to a peaceful end. And that is the human war theory.
Huh. Yes, that theory. So that's an interesting bit. I'm not gonna lie. So, the end of a war stopped thanks to SpongeBob. Wow, that sounds kind of crazy the second you say it out loud. Not gonna lie. But I can see it. Doesn't sound too crazy, but it also sounds very believable the more I try to think about it. How crazy it is for the whole thing to actually make a lot more sense than one would think. So, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button down below. Tell me what you think about this theory in the comment section down below. I'd like to hear your opinion on the matter. Honestly, I'm gonna have to admit, the war being more of aquatic life versus human life actually sounds like it makes more sense than primitive and evolved fish in a way. Yeah, that's what I think on that matter. It actually makes a lot more sense to me. And until we hear more about how this evolution thing happened and getting a more confirmed thing on Ugg, then it's gonna be like a weird thing. If Ugg is like a for sure thing involving nothing that goes that far back as mentioned, and it's just um from when the radiation just hit after, and it was described more like a exaggerated thing maybe, then yeah, that would confirm it. But until like here we know if Pearl's mom was a primitive fish or not, yeah, I think you get the point. Like those two things are gonna prevent like the Bikini Atoll theory from, well, not truly. Ugg would be the one last thing to confirm if you can 100% confirm it, because the total time travel thing that Squidward went through literally kind of breaks that thing. Unless there's some confirmed thing that Ugg was more present and that the time Squidward time travel in the past was in fact after the launch of and after the explosion, then you get like if it goes the right way, Bikini Atoll theory is correct. Though I still am hoping on to the fact that Neptune like made the radiation to a ball and just hid it away. At least that's my thought on it. But yes, with this all said, hope you'll enjoy, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.